And then when you like go out to say I'm gonna hit Riverside, I go from my main base, get my fight my way into Riverside, which usually takes at least a couple of days, and then set up a small like temporary base in Riverside, and I push from that. When either food or weapons or something else gets low, then I drop back to the main base, restock, go back out to the remote base. Or also, if I just get too much supplies at the remote base, I ship it back to the main base for when I have fights that are worse. But yeah, so it's strategic. And then this is also the only place kind of middle of the map that I can get gas, water, and have a an area I can farm reasonably well. Other locations I could consider, if I'm being honest. So there is that gas station. Another place I could consider is, where's the main road here that terminates? So the other place I'd consider is down here. There's a gas station here. There's water, drive and move here. This would be a spot, but the problem is still, it's here. Riverside and West Point are up there. So it's very much on one extreme side of the map. Muldrow would be the other place, but Muldrow is going to be one of the last targets I hit because the zombie population here is extremely high. It's not West Point and Louisville high, but of these towns, it's one of the higher ones. Midridge is pretty awful as well, but no one wants to go to Midridge. So it's one I want to hit later after I've got my combat skills up more. Yeah. Like, if I did modded runs and all that, yeah, I would take a freaking RV. Or be allowed to daisy chain trailers or something. But realistically, it boils down to, I clear my way up to the next town. I get my foothold in the next town, wherever I get my foothold. And then I start just gradually pushing into town until I just got way too many supplies, and then, drag them home. Because going from the center of the map to, like, Riverside the whole drive, if I'm not fighting zombies the whole way, that doesn't take very long. It's just when I'm going for, like, Riverside to Rosewood or something that it's awful. I mean, Riverside to West Point is actually pretty crap as well. It's a pretty straight shot, but, it's just, you're talking the far left part of the map till just a bit shy of the far right. We should be running a little bit. Don't burn too much down, but get a little bit of sprinting up. Get a little bit of fitness. Just trying not to have full stamina. But yeah, if people have other good locations that I should be considering for center of the map, I am all ears. It's just, the only other place I can think of going is the rest stops. The vast majority of the rest stops don't have water available to them, though, or they're just nowhere near center map. Because I know there's a rest stop in the very, very far northwest, but that rest stop is, it's in the far northwest, but it does have water and gas and all that right there. But basically my plan for this is I use this gas station as my permanent base until we get well into West Point, at which point then I would shift my base of operations into West Point. Likely along the eastern edge. That way, once West Point is knocked out and I have to hit Louisville, the mall, and all that area, I'm basing from West Point as opposed to Riverside, because then Riverside's nowhere nearby. Now, if we're doing a completely different style run, then yeah, I have no reason to be based from the center of the map, really. And, like, I could take the time that, we push Riverside, I make a base of operations in Riverside, I fully clear Riverside, like, have a proper base in Riverside. And then, I pack it in, move to Ekron, make a base in Ekron, pack it in, move to Rosewood, pack it in, and, like, have a rolling base. But, the time it takes to set up a base I don't want to do that 7 times or 8 times or whatever it is, because I'm expecting I'm going to have to make a base very specifically for Louisville itself. Like, do West Point, wipe out the mall, go to push Louisville, and probably... I'm thinking the warehouse near Louisville is probably where we'll end up setting up. Would be my guess. Because it's right... It's kind of like right out the door. The water's not super convenient there, but it's not terrible. Because the only other option I can think of is there's a town just slightly south of the warehouse, but it really doesn't have a great route to Louisville. You have to kind of like drive back out and back into the area. Well, that's a ambitious pull. That's fine. Yeah, so my thoughts are probably... like, for base locations, Ekron gas station, primary base 1. Riverside and Rosewood and all those, I'll just take whatever first house I get it into. I'm just going to board up the windows, and that'll be all the more base I'll do. Like, maybe a rain barrel. I have actually never tried to remove a light post, so I couldn't tell you one way or the other. We can look. Yeah, I don't think you can pick up light poles. I didn't think so, because that, like, how would your character legitimately carry that in the real world? But yeah, I don't think you can pull these out. Like, we can actually just try it. Yeah, nope. There are certain things you can't pull out by default. Like, it used to be you couldn't pick up the garden gnomes or the flamingos until just multiplayer update. Yeah, no, I don't think you can interact with those in any ways other than slamming a car into them. Does fire burn down the poles? I never bothered looking, because one, I don't use fire, but I've never really noticed one way or the other. Because I have noticed fire doesn't seem to destroy all things either. There are just some things that cannot be destroyed. No. Ashes are just effectively corpses that decay. Like, there is, other than you killing zombies with fire, there is no benefit to fire in this game. Like, I don't even believe you can use fire to keep warm in the game. As far as, like, fire getting out of control. Like, just a campfire you can stand near and it gets you warm. Long blunt. 4. I thought we were at 5. Alright, that zombie in front of the rural supply place has a hunting knife for us. So let's try to remember that. And I think before I worried about, like, all sorts of other clever interactions, I think the one interaction that I feel is lacking from the game that really should be a thing is if a room is below freezing temperature, food in it should turn frozen. And I feel like it's already a self-balancing thing when you do that. And the reason I would say that is because frozen food generally causes boredom and unhappiness. So there's already a serious consequence there. And it's not even that it couldn't deteriorate at all. And in this game, frozen doesn't mean it doesn't rot. Yeah, I could see snow giving tainted water, like if you collect in rain barrels, but you'd have to boil it. Because I see like the counter argument, because people be like, oh, it'd be too easy. I'm like, right, but I can already just, you know, go up to the river and fill it up and boil it even during the winter already. So unless we add the river freezing over as a mechanic, you know, it's already easy to deal with unless you go out of your way to make it hard. Like, I feel the ways you could deal with it is, one, make snow really heavy. So if you go to take a bunch of snow out of your rain barrel to boil it, it is a very exhausting activity. I.e., it makes you very vulnerable to attack while you're doing it. Well, I mean, in real life, the danger with the winter is a lack of food because you can't farm or anything. And a lot of animals go into hibernation and everything. Like, this is real life. This isn't talking about Project Zomboid itself. But, you know, without grocery stores and everything, yeah, you can't grow food. Your ability to forage for food is very limited because you don't have berry bushes or anything like that growing. And a lot of other plants, like tubers and that, you can't find because they're underground. And the stalks are all gone. But as far as like water in the real world, it's nowhere near as difficult. The thing to keep in mind is with Project Zomboid lore, the air itself has the virus in it that contaminated everything. So that's why rain, when it comes down, is all contaminated and not safe. So your character is immune to the airborne variant, but not any of the other variants. So you have to go and, you know, process the water and all that. I can't. No, it's not that the water has the zombie apocalypse stuff in it. It has some contamination or something in it that's part of the virus. Yeah, I feel like that would be a neat mechanic. I feel like, though, for that to make sense in the game, there has to be some other consequence, though. Okay, if you're going to make the zombies super easy to fight because they're effectively immobilized, then you need to have a new danger present itself. Like, it could be a thing that when they introduce animals, okay, that's when the bears and all that start coming out of the woods and being all aggressive, and the zombies can't really do a whole lot. I could see that. I could see if they had the wildlife were actually dangerous that, you know, foraging would need to be adapted accordingly. Or, I mean, maybe it's fair because, like, foraging right now is super powerful. Like, yeah, it's hard to get off the ground, but once you do, it's just, the amount of stuff you can get with foraging is ridiculous. So maybe just the fact that you have to be careful while doing it in general is the balance. You know, and of course you could say, well, I'll just wall in my base and stay close and just forge there. Fair. I've gone to, I believe, around level 6 or 7, and I was finding weapons and all sorts of stuff. Now, it's not like spitting stuff out to you like candy, but you get some pretty good stuff that would be real pain to go and loot. I believe I have found, I think it was a claw hammer, hand axe. I found jars of leeks. I found plenty of, you know, plenty of produce like wild mushrooms, onions, leeks again, carrots. I found seeds for all those things. I found boxes of nails. Like, you can find some amazing stuff. Considering you just walk around and then stop moving when the eye appears. Now, like I said, low levels, it's a pain in the butt because you walk around and sometimes it's hard to track stuff down. But as you gain levels, its radius gets bigger and bigger, and you eventually get to the point where you just walk into a room and it's like, oh, it's over there. You're like, cool. Thanks, game. I like free things. Yeah, no, that's the entire thing. If you're looking for like a super big challenge, go to extremely rare loot, start in winter. So you don't have time to prep, you just start in winter and there's like no food around. And what food you do find, if it's perishable, is rotten. It didn't glitch for me. Like, I had glitching earlier, but not for me now. You can pickle vegetables in this game. That's already a mechanic. If you get a jar, a lid, and sugar and vinegar, I believe, you can pickle vegetables. No one does it for the most part, because finding all the stuff you need to pickle vegetables, it's easier to just get a freezer, put a bunch of potatoes in it, and get most of the way through winter without ever having to worry about it. Now, I do like the idea of drying meats and all that, like, I would have the consequence of drying meat be that you lose a lot of the, what's the word I'm looking for? You lose a lot of the hunger benefit from it, and it would cause dehydration. So it's kind of training one problem for another. But then, you know, of course, the problem with water is usually fairly easy to manage. Yep. Yeah, that's what I'd say. I'd say drying meat, it's like, okay, I don't know what would be like the fair amount, but like, all right, the benefit you got from that food has dropped to, we'll say half, just for the sake of it. You know, the benefit you get from that food has dropped to half. And then you also have thirst that comes with it because, you know, it's dried food. And so the idea is you have to stockpile a lot more food than you would otherwise normally need. But I think that'd be a good idea. And you can also have the consequence of, like, you have, you know, your meat drying rack that's outside. If it rains while it's drying and you don't deal with it, then your meat just rots because, you know, it got rained on and just sits out and gets wet and gross. Or if the humidity is just simply too high, the meat won't dry properly, so there's certain months of the year you can't really dry meat too effectively. But I think it'd be a good system. Nope, hate-filled donuts. You get your katana, You have your fun, you live the dream, and then it's gone. Yep. Now, like we said, there are talking about adding animals, and we have no idea the gist of it. It could strictly be hunting. It could include domesticated animals. I don't know. I generally do worry about them adding animals, to being entirely honest. Like, the domesticated ones, sure, I don't have a big problem with that. But, like, if I'm running around dealing with zombies and a bear comes running up to me, I'm concerned about how that will change the game. Now, granted, those concerns could be unfounded and everything. I just worry they'll be an entirely different experience. It's like playing with sprinters is an entirely different game. It's using the same engine, but you're playing a completely different game. And I fear adding in, you know, bears, wolves, anything like that will be an entirely different game. Like, dogs gone feral, I feel like... So here's my concern. Right now, you fight the zombies melee, that's what you do. If some bear comes rolling down here and I'm beating it up with, you know, a kitchen knife, that's not going to feel even reasonable. Not in my book. Now, if I basically have to carry around a gun just in case a bear shows up, I don't like that kind of pigeonholes me into a very specific play style. Because that's one of the beauties of the game, is that you can play it many different ways. But a fast-moving, very aggressive enemy would change everything. That said, all my fears could be unfounded. It could be that you can very easily tell where you will and won't run into the enemies. Yeah, but then my concern goes back to, okay, that just means I'm now required to carry around a bow if the bow is the way you fight them. So that's my concern, is just that those changes are ones that could completely change the type of game that Project Zomboid is for me. Well, that sucks. And I wasn't paying attention to energy at all. Right. And that's another concern, like, okay, other human beings you fight, you know, are they going to have guns? Because if they have guns, that's going to be a whole thing that's super dangerous. And I mean, like I said, it could be great. I could love it. And that my fears are totally unfounded. And I'm sure, at least I pray, in their sandbox you could just be like, hostile NPCs. I would rather not, thank you. I just worry it's going to change the entire feel of the game to being like some high-paced, aggressive game versus right now it's a very methodical game. Yeah, no, I think respawning by default makes sense, because otherwise you do have limits. Like, I've said, like, for the longest time that I was very unsure about playing with no respawns, because, you know, there's a point where you go, well, the zombies are gone and I'm still alive, so question mark, game done. Yeah, it's right. Yeah, you can go in and change servers, map settings and all that by going into that. Yep. Well, and yeah, Kyrix, I'm talking more theoretical than practical. It's the same thing. It's like, oh, people getting really upset that gas stations have limited amount of gas, and then you go, but it's 60 something thousand gas per pump, like, and the most a car can carry is like 60 something units of gas, and it would take you an in-game day, like going full, well, probably more than an in-game day, going full tilt to burn through that. Like, you're not going to run out of gas, like at a single gas station doing that, because again, it's per pump, not per gas station. But it's still the thought that's like, but I could run out of gas in my world. It's like, right, but you know, in theory, you could reach a point that you've now lost all access to cars. It is a completely impractical theory that'll never happen in real life, but in theory, it's a thing that could be a problem. And just the same with no to respawn, in theory, you could run entirely out of zombies and just go, oh, there are no more zombies. But in practice, it's very unlikely. Like, we're doing a challenge that most people, like, I'm assuming I'm not going to be successful because we're talking an absolutely ludicrous number of zombies. Like, we're talking, I think we estimate like 900,000 something zombies. Based on, again, outdated data, so we can be entirely off. What are some things I would like add to this game? I would like a lot of the weather stuff to have more impact. Because, like, right now, weather just makes you cold, and then maybe gives you a cold kind of thing. I would like to see weather actually do stuff like, maybe when it's snowing that, you know, it's far more treacherous to drive, or, you know, stuff freezes outside, which has pros and cons. Like, yeah, your food lasts longer because it's frozen, but also everything's frozen, so a lot of stuff stops working. I would honestly just completely, like, want to revisit how mechanic works to make adjustments. I love the fact that it's so granular and complicated, and I think that's great. But I would like to see it so it's not so click-heavy. You know, just click and wait, click and wait, click and wait kind of mechanic. I would love to see metalworking actually have some more interesting stuff brought into it. Like, let metalworking make some weapons. I would like happiness to actually be meaningful. Like, it slows down the rate you loot and change stuff. It's like, yeah, well, maybe, you know, absolutely tragically severe depression should be a little bit more impactful from you fight perfectly fine, but, you know, you go a little bit slower. I would love to see your ability to actually make clothes with tailoring as a means of leveling it up. Or to get, you know, certain outfits that maybe you don't find naturally in the world. Or to give you, like, shoulder pouches or something. Because, like, tailoring is super powerful right now, but it's not, like, it's not fun to level. You just put patches on and off your clothes again and again and again until you're maxed. Like, I want to be clear, I'm not upset with the game or anything. These are just things I would love to see expanded on. Like, they got the groundwork there, and I'd love to see more. I could do with them continuing to expand on the base building side. Like, there's a lot of amazing stuff there, but there's also some real jank in there that I wish they would polish out, like getting stuff to be considered interior or exterior for purposes of plumbing. Do away with the interior requirement for plumbing at all. Just, hey, Josie Raider, thank you for the raid. Give me 1 second, I'll give you a shout out. Playing some Project Zomboid, always a good thing. So how was your raid? Yeah, I would like to be able to make and remove roofs. Like, these are all things I would love. And again, I'm not being critical at all of the game. I think the game is wonderful, I love it, and I just want to see more of it. But, you know, for people asking me, it's like, what would I like to see? It's like, those are all things I'd like to see. And those are all, honestly, like, polished things. Very few of those are new features, like, net new things. It's just, take a thing you already have, add. Give it a spit shine. Yeah, I could go for that, Cendrus. Like, instead of right now where you just put a generator and it's 25 tiles in all directions, it powers, like, make us run a cable. Like, it doesn't have to be anything super involved, like we have to do this, the cable can handle this much load, like, all that kind of nonsense. Don't need that. But, like, make it so I have to take some electrical wire, I have to choose a start point and a stop point and have enough have enough electrical wire to reach it. And then if I wanted to make it more complicated, sure, we can talk. Like, I don't need logic gates or anything in the game. But, like, maybe I want to get something more than 25 tiles away and run a singular cable there. Sure. Just make it have a higher requirement. Yep. We always love our beta blockers. Alright, we're almost... Oh, come on, not again. When I started the stream, I was doing GTRP, and that's the character I GTRP'd as. And so even though, like, I made all those long since I've stopped GTRPing on any meaningful level, I'm, it's still kind of like a nod of where we came from type thing. And plus, you know, it's adorable and all that. But yeah, that group I had not aggroed before the crash was aggroed when we loaded back up. And now they de-aggroed since I had to exit the reload the game. Alright, give me 1 moment. I'm going to pause. Because my preview's all jacked up. Okay. And I tried closing almost everything I can think of that was not part of Project Zomboid or this. But I don't know what's going on. Yeah, no, like I said, I think you are on the money that it's probably a driver crashing, and I don't know what happened. The best I can guess is that either Windows Update did a driver update, or NVIDIA did a driver update, and something is funky with the driver. Which I would 100% believe, because I didn't change anything with Project Zomboid or OBS or anything else like that. Yeah, but it's not exhibiting the symptoms I would expect from overheating. I'm not saying it's not possible. But it's not the symptoms I would expect from overheating. Now, a driver crash, I fully believe, because NVIDIA's made some real shit drivers over the years. I love their hardware, but their drivers have been hot garbage for a while. Let's see real fast if I can bring up... Because I'm going to have to look through everything. Yeah, cart trunks are a really reliable place to get it. Mechanic shelves are a good place to get it. Gas stations are a good place to get it. Let's see. Sometimes you can find them in the garages inside homes. You have a pretty decent chance to get it. I'd say car trunks, though, are the most reliable place to find them. Just start walking around, popping trunks, checking them out. Yep. Sheds are a good place to get it. I find plenty in sheds. Yeah, well, I mean, the problem is 90% of the stuff we would have to do to try and fix it would involve me ending the stream to be able to, like, driver update, because OBS would just throw a corn error if you did that while it was loaded. Like, that's the things. Like, I would love to go into it and be like, let's look at the temperatures, let's look at all this, but it's like, oh, this software wants to do an update, it wants to do drivers, all sorts of stuff. Like, it just got a new set of drivers. It's like, alright, do I install that now with us having problems? But I can't do that while I stream. Because that basically, if I start that, that means I'm done streaming for the day. I know how that rabbit hole goes. But I'll troubleshoot after stream and figure it out. Because, like, I've had no problems till today. So my money is still on a driver got updated, or Windows did an update, and something is, like, causing the driver to crash, and so what we're seeing is a driver crashing. Because I've absolutely had it many times in the past that NVIDIA will release an update, like, update driver, whatever, it'll auto-install, it won't work, nothing will work for a day. You'll have to roll back the driver, force it to install an old version, until a week later they do a hot fix. Oh, and before anyone gets excited about, you know, competitor brands and all that, I've had problems with them too in the past too. I've used both brands. Yeah, I see one here. It looks like it's a texture on the clouds. Like it's something with the cloud texture being busted. And the worst thing is I had, like, this happened before we opened Project Zomboid, so I know it's not Project Zomboid at fault here. I'm just glad that it's Project Zomboid, like, actually crashing out versus, you know, I can only imagine if it was, like, just the graphics crashed out, but the game kept running and just dying that way. Like, I would be very pissed off by that. But luckily, it's like the whole game locks up, like, the screen flashes black, and then the game cancels out. Well, if the textures didn't load, you'd still have the 3D models. It's just the 3D models would look really weird and funky with, like, mixing textures and blockiness and all that. So at least I'd still see it's a zombie. That's fine. You just beat on those doors, actually. I'm gonna kill these zombies and keep going up the road. On the plus side, while we are having these technical issues, on and off, we are making excellent progress across Ekron. And we know where we can get our generator. We have our generator magazine red. Like, a lot of good is happening. No, that's the problem. Like, I've got keys, it's a really good van, all that stuff, but no gas. So it's part of the reason I also am pushing up towards the gas station, is usually there's a couple cars there, and if not, we can find cars in these back roads or on the way. And like, all I need is like, maybe 3-4 units of gas, because that'd be enough for us to drive down, grab the generator, drive back up, plop down the generator, put gas in the generator, and then, you know, get an extra tank. Like, I already have a gas can. I just need the gas itself. Well, no, there's no power. I need gas to get the generator, to the gas station, so that I can use the pump. So, gas is a requirement for me to get gas. Ah, that is one hell of a hike with a generator. Like, really long hike with the generator. Yep, and I do still need fuel for the generator. I mean, sure, yes. The point being, even if I find another generator close by, I need gas. If I don't find gas, there's no generator. Like, I can put the generator on ground, but I can't turn it on. So, gas is a requirement. That said, getting to the gas station still is the play, because one, that's where I plan on basing from. Is that short blade we got? Fitness 4. Let's go. Healthy weight. Let's go. We are no longer overweight at all. We're getting to be a trim, fit individual. I mean, the burpees helped. Like, I'd rather have been fighting, but if we're going to sit at home stuck in a tropical storm, might as well do something productive. Oh, we're right about to be sleepy. Alright, let's see if we can't kill this one pack and then get out of here. That's the road to the gas station. We're basically here. Okay, now we hike home. So yeah, it's looking like we will potentially make it to the gas station tomorrow in game. Yeah, I'm curious of the NPCs. They'll be like randomly generated NPCs that, you know, they don't like they have certain traits and all that they'll share and all that, but you have no idea what to expect, or if it'll be, you know, a set number of specific, you know, survivors or whatever that can be around the map and all that. I am curious. Because I do feel like if they just respawn and reappear, it'll make it seem very meaningless because it'll be like, okay, right now the game is you are the lone survivor. But if there's suddenly tons and tons and tons and tons of them running around everywhere, it's like, oh, like, you're just another person. We'll see. Like, I have confidence Indie Stone will do fantastic things. Like, don't get me wrong, they've done nothing but fantastic things so far. I'm just... You know, you worry about the thing you really enjoy getting ruined. That's all. Change is scary. Right. But the implication from a lot of those radio things is that you don't start out... You don't... Okay. OBS just got freaky and now I got weird dots all over my screen. This feels more like overheating. Like, this is the kind of stuff I expect from overheating stuff. Not just the blackout and all that. Mm-hmm. That texture's messed up. Twitch chat has random red, white, and blue pixels all over it. I don't know why I would be. Like, we have done way, way, way worse than this before. I mean, it better not be dying. It's fairly new. Like, fairly new. Like, if the GPU's dying, I'm going to be super salty. Because it was absolute hell to replace my GPU when the other one went out after many, many, many years. Like, this is a very, very new GPU. Oh, I wanted to see if, It's a 3090. Because it's all I could get my hands on when my old GPU died. I had to, like, fight super hard to try and get a hold of it. Replacing it was not a good time. I play all sorts of games. Like, I play a bunch of games, but yeah, I play stuff that has no reason. Oh, I need to ditch this stuff. Oh, right. I was trying to listen to the radio, and I pulled out the baseball bat, which put away the radio. Okay, no air activity detected, that's all I care. So I need to grab some food out. So what do we got for food here I can grab? I might have to like go skulking through some houses sometime soon. Marinara. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to poke my nose into some houses soon. Because the food is getting down to the liquors, and, you know, that's not exactly going to help our food cause. Yeah, so I gotta loot some places that actually have food in them, it looks like. On the stats I saw, yes. That said, mileage may vary, all that kind of good stuff.